Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Amy Vaughn, and I am the CEO of Together Digital, the largest community for women supporting women in digital in the country. I'm so excited to have you all here with me today. We have a special and very awesome guest with us today, as well as a few of our members from across the country who are going to get some one-on-one coaching. So excited to have you here. I'm about to get Cheryl introduced here. Let me get Cheryl on.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. So on today's episode of She Rocks, this is where real women share real advice on all things in digital and life. And today we're going to be discussing managing your midlife or mid-career crisis. Midlife, mid-career. You're here because you resonate either way. And we're so happy to have you here. Cheryl Czach, she is a founder, coach for career and life. And so we're so happy to have you here to talk about this topic today. But before we get started, I want to make sure that we're working. So this is our first time live streaming. Thank you to member Brenda Miller, who took I asked for some help and she did a give, which is a big part of what we do here at Together Digital. We ask and we give, and help kind of get me familiar with the groundwork of all of this. So hopefully, this one goes off without a hitch, but we'll get better each time as we go. But thank you, Brenda, for helping out with this. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn right now. So in the chat, let us know where you're listening from. We would love to know. Let us know how you're doing today. Hey, Shauna, good to see you. Good in Detroit. Awesome. So don't be shy. We want to see those comments come in. If you have questions, be sure to bring them up as well. We'll be happy to try to get them answered as we're meeting with Cheryl today. If you're interested in learning more about Together Digital, I definitely suggest that you check out our website. It is www.togetherindigital.com. for more information about becoming a member of this amazing community. We have over 1,000 members from across the country, and we offer authentic and meaningful connections that are not just career, but can also be very life-changing. So as you all get settled in for today and some time with Cheryl, this time that we set aside every week is really sacred to us, for ourselves, for our personal and professional growth. So I really ask that you try to put away any and all distractions, sit down, grab a notebook, grab a pen, because we're all avid note takers, but also Cheryl has an amazing exercise that we're going to go through to hopefully help you get unstuck from this mid-career crisis. So again, Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm thrilled to be here. This is exciting. I've never done a live event before, so it's both thrilling and terrifying at the same time.
Right. We're doing great so far, though. We're here, and our audience is here. Everyone's really excited. So thanks again for joining us. I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here, and yeah, let's just start hearing about you.
Okay, fantastic. So I am a leadership, organizational, and career coach. So I work with corporate leaders, either individually or in teams, to do things like cultivate higher emotional intelligence or communicate with greater influence or impact, think more strategically, essentially try to help them perform at their best. But I also work with people in career transition. And these are private clients who come to me who might be looking for some clarification about what's next. They know that they want to make a change, but they're not sure what it is. Or maybe they know exactly what they want and they just need help getting to that next role. So those are the types of clients that I work with. But if it's okay with you, I want to jump right in, and we have so much good stuff. All right, cool.
It's going to be a fast hour. It always goes so quick.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, I thought it might be interesting to start with a little bit about my story, only because I think it's really relatable. And I hope that it offers some inspiration to those who are feeling some career dissatisfaction right now and kind of wondering, am I stuck? What should I do about it? So I had a little bit of an unconventional career path. My first real job, adult job out of high school was a part-time receptionist. So I actually didn't go to college like most people do. I became a part-time office receptionist. And then the company that I worked for had an opening in accounting as an accounting clerk, and they asked me if I wanted to train for that. So I jumped at that chance. And then I found out about an opportunity at another firm that was part-time accounting and part-time HR, and I wanted to grow. I wanted to learn new things. So I took that. I loved HR. And thought, this is where I'll build a career. I'll build a career in HR. And I ended up going to college in my 30s. At the time, I was a single mom. I had a 4-year-old son. I invested a lot in my career. I worked really hard, and I started to kind of rise up the ranks, the corporate ranks. And in my mid-30s, I was the VP of Business Administration for a German automotive supplier. I'm in the Detroit area, so heavily automotive background. And this was my dream job. I loved this job. I was really living a life that was far more than I could have imagined when I was growing up. I got to travel regularly to Europe. I had this amazing team, many of whom I'm still friends with today. I got to work on projects that were far beyond my scope. I was always learning new things. And most importantly, I really had the trust and support of my superiors, of my management. And I really believed that they would do nearly anything to help me succeed. Mm-hmm. I say that because at a time when I really should have been on top of the world, I started to hear the whisper. And it was like this small tickle in my ear telling me that I wanted something different. And I silenced this thought because, I was reminding myself that I achieved so much already and I should be really happy. And this was my dream job. And what the heck was I doing thinking that I wanted something different? And I convinced myself that all I needed was the next challenge. I just needed something new. I just needed to be challenged. And so I made a shift into technical staffing. And within a few years, I was the president of a boutique staffing firm. And here again, I loved the company. I loved the owners. I loved the team. But that voice in my head that had been telling me since my mid-30s that something wasn't right, it turned into a shout. Mm-hmm. And it was screaming at me. And I couldn't ignore it any longer. And so I did what any sensible person would do. I hired a coach to help me silence it. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, you know what? I have a really good gig, and I would be a fool to walk away from this. Mm-hmm. I just need to find a way to cope. I just need to stay here longer, save more money, and I just kind of figure out how to be happy where I am. Mm-hmm. And of course, what I realized in working with a coach is I actually needed to make a change. And thankfully, in my work with her, I was able to start to make a plan about how to make that change. And I shared this story in the hopes that that people can relate to it, that this feeling of I worked really hard for this. Mm-hmm. It's everything I ever thought I would ever want.
100%.
Yeah. And here I am and I'm not happy. So, and first of all, there's like guilt around that. Like, well, who am I to want more? And then worry. Again, I was a single mom and
right.
Can I make a living and all of that. And so, thinking about this idea of a mid-career crisis, I'm hoping that I can offer something today that inspires people to make a small step. When you're hearing that whisper, maybe it's already a shout for some of you, but when you're hearing that whisper telling you something's off, let's start to do something about it now. Don't wait until it's screaming at you, because that's when people tend to overcorrect, right? They tend to make a drastic change or do something in the heat of the moment. And it doesn't need to be that way. You can start taking small steps when you start to hear that whisper.
Mhm. That's so funny. I wonder how many of you that are listening today feel it, that it's like a whisper or a shout. Share in the comments what you're feeling. I mean, I don't think you'd be here otherwise. And Cheryl, I relate to your story so much. You know, I went to school. I kind of went to school my first year pre-med, and then I quit after that first year. I took a break. I just wanted to work and see like what it would be like to be in a place where I would be doing the job I would be doing. And that's how I decided I didn't want to be a doctor. And I ended up choosing like advertising and marketing. And I went to school at night. I worked during the day. I worked really hard to earn that degree. I worked 14 years in advertising, got to my six-figure salary, the title that I thought I wanted. And same thing. I was like, I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. And I feel like people kind of hear that or feel that, and I wonder if you see this a lot with the people that you coach, there's this sense of like complacency or comfort.
Yeah.
And that is almost as disturbing as just knowing that you want and you need out.
Yeah, I feel like it's a cycle that I see people go through where it's like something happens, and they get, and the whisper becomes louder and they're like, oh, you know what? I am not happy doing this. And then they start to like convince themselves it's fine.
Right.
It's fine. The money's really good. I work so hard for this. And we start to tie our identities to those things. Like if I'm not this, who will I be and what will people think?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. What will people think? Like how many people have just chosen what they went to school for initially? Was it because it's what they thought everybody wanted them to do? You're right. I think there's something about midlife and mid-career that you stop and look around and say, is this what I want and need? And I think when you and I first met and we were talking about what topic we would come to, we were both kind of musing about the fact that, this pandemic has really sort of forced this whole mid-career, like midlife crisis, because with COVID and everything else, all of a sudden our mortality is in question, our finances are in question. So we kind of put everything into question and say, am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I doing what I need to be doing? Am I making an impact in what I'm doing? Are the values of the company that I work for shared values? So I think I'm so excited for this conversation today and for your kind of the workshopping part of this, because I do feel like it is such a very familiar place based on all the comments that we're seeing coming through that I'm sharing up on the screen.
I'm reading those too as you're talking. So one of the things I want to jump right in because, one of the things that is important to me is to offer something real and actionable that people can do. Inspiration or motivation is great. Hearing someone's story and relating to it's great, but saying, okay, but what can I do about it? So I want to offer one thing that I often do with clients. So if a client's coming to me and they're like, hi, I know I need to make a change, but I just don't know what it is and I need to get some clarity, this is one of the exercises that we do together. And essentially what we do is we look at their values for clues. And so I'm sure there's been a lot of talk lately about values, but values can be the things that we look to help us decide what's right or wrong or kind of serve as our moral compass. But they're actually so much more than that. When we are living a life that is out of alignment with our values, we feel unsatisfied, unfulfilled, we don't have satisfaction, we can even feel stressed or anxious. And tuning into those values give us little clues about what we can do in our lives to make us feel more fulfilled. So I want to walk us through a values exercise that certainly the folks who are going to jump on with me for live coaching in a few minutes should be doing. But also, if you're viewing this live, I encourage you to grab a piece of paper, a pen, open up a document on your computer, whatever, and do this little exercise with us because it's the first step towards taking some action. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about, I don't know, 3 of your values. There's no magic number here. 3 of your values. And I want you to think about what you mean by that value. And this is why it's important. Words mean different things to different people. And so if I'm going to give an example from my life, autonomy is a big value for me. In fact, autonomy is in top 5, it might be number 1. A lot of what I do is driven by wanting some autonomy in my life. And when I was in the corporate world, I had some autonomy, but I didn't have the type of autonomy that I was looking for. And to me, that meant when and where I work, deciding my own schedule. Those are the types of things in autonomy that I was looking for. So I want you to write down maybe 3 of your values and what you mean by it. And then I want you to give a rating on how well you're living that in your life right now. So that if I had done this exercise when I was in the corporate world, I probably would have rated it a 6 in how well I was able to live that value in my life. And so I want to give you a few minutes, and I know we're live, so that can be a little awkward because we're going to pause here. But if you could take a few minutes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Okay. And go. I'm going to chat with Amy while you're doing that. I was going to play some music during this portion, but I couldn't figure out a way to make it work. And now I see you have this amazing intro. I could have had you play some music from that.
Yeah, we could have done a little like quiet, soothing. I have a closeout video, but yeah, I'll leave that for the end. No, that's okay. I think let's chit chat about some other values, because I think having sometimes I think people feel stuck, especially kind of spur of the moment. Funny enough, we just did a value-based goal setting workshop with our members, and we're going to be doing it again actually next Saturday. And so I have a list of values here. Maybe I should read some off, and maybe that'll help inspire those of you. We'll like wait another minute, and then we'll.
Yeah.
So in case you start to feel a little like, I don't know, what values do I have? So the list, they have things like accountability, achievement, adaptability, ambition, balance, being the best, caring, clarity, coaching and mentoring, commitment, compassion, competence, conflict resolution, courage, creativity, dialogue, ease with uncertainty, enthusiasm, entrepreneurship, environmental awareness, excellence, ethics, forgiveness, friendship, future generations, legacy. I'm sure legacy is probably high up on most people's lists. Other ones that were really popular were well-being, from like a health and mind, body, spirit sense. Another one was that was really popular within our group was openness, making a difference. I mean, but things like wealth, stability, integrity. I mean, there's so many options. But like you said, I think really thinking about what you mean by those words is just as important as choosing the words themselves.
It is so important. And I think sometimes, especially when we're talking to others about our values, we just assume we know what they mean. Like we think we all know what honesty means. But there really are nuances to what it means to us and how we want to see it play out in our lives. And so that's why it's important to say, okay, what do I actually mean by this? And I just want to respond to something in the chat. Yeah. I think it was Melissa who asked me about my pink doors.
Yeah.
And if they meant something. And I would just say that they tie into my brand with my logo is pink. And it's funny because when I was growing up, especially my teen years, I was like very anti-pink. And then as I got older, I was like, you know what? I actually really like pink.
Right? All black. My mom's like, don't you like any colors? I'm like,
Exactly. So I just want to give a few more minutes or another minute, perhaps, just to wrap it up and just to recap it in case you joined during this time. Yeah. We're writing down 3 of our values, what they mean to us, what we mean by that value, and then giving it a rating on how we're living it in our lives. And the next thing I want to do with that is go right into coaching around it. And so I know we have a few people who volunteered to be coached, and maybe if we can start to bring them on, I'm going to show.
We can.
Cool. I'm going to show them and the people watching what can you do with this? Okay, I've done this exercise. What does it mean? What's next?
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to have each of them come in, and as they pop on, just give me your name and your city. And I know some of you are all of them are members. We only asked members to join this part of it. But let us know what city you're from and if you happen to have a board position or a role with Together Digital. Hey, welcome, Tony.
Hi, ladies. Thanks for having me. I'm Tony. I am in the Cincinnati chapter of Together Digital, and I am the Peer Circle Chair. So
awesome. Thanks for joining us, Tony. Everyone say hi. Cheryl?
All right.
Just got to unmute, Carolyn, and say hi to everybody.
Hello. Yeah, hi, I'm Carolyn. I'm currently in the New York chapter of Together Digital, but I am originally from the Midwest, from Detroit, and I am very likely going to be relocating back there within the next 8 weeks or so. So, yeah, I'm excited to be going back. So, I'm
Welcome back.
looking for my next role, so I'm really open to opportunities in Detroit or Chicago. I've got family and friends in both, so looking forward and excited about getting back there.
Awesome. I think you'll be closer now. Speaking of Detroit, Miss Monica.
Hey everybody, I'm Monica. I'm the city champion in Detroit. And
Thanks for joining us, Monica. And last but not least, Miss Lucretia Braxton.
Hi there, I'm Lucretia and I'm the city champion here in Cincinnati.
Wonderful. Thank you all for volunteering to be put in the hot seat. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to do this little coaching exercise with you. So I need one of you to be a brave soul and go first. And talk with me a little bit about one of your values. So who would like to go first? Tony. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So Tony, I want you to look at that list and pick one of those values. And it could be either one where you rated it the lowest and how you're living it in your life, or it could be one that just kind of has more of an emotional pull for you. So what is the value?
Okay, mine's going to be on the high end. Connection.
Okay. So when you say connection, what do you mean?
So that could be, for me, spending time with loved ones, meeting new people, connecting on a personal level, having chemistry with someone, whether it's romantic or not. If it's romantic, it's only with one person, but on a friendship level, just meeting someone and really just sharing things with each other and listening and learning.
And so what did you rate that as how you're living it in your life right now?
I actually rated it a 10.
Okay. So you're able to live at a 10 in your life right now.
I am. Yes.
Okay. So normally in this exercise, I would say, so how can you increase that? But it already is
anyway.
It's already really high for you, which is fantastic. So I think what I'm hearing is it's not just about connecting. It's like a deeper connection, right? This really sharing things with people and getting to know them on a deeper level. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And how is that impacting? I want to make the connection right now to your career, and how are you able to live it through your career, or is it more of a personal life thing?
It's actually both for me. I also consider myself a very relationship building is one of my strengths. Have clients and I build relationships with them. And I also, as a volunteer on the board for Together Digital, I also help facilitate some of our events and what we call virtual peer circles. So I'm able to do that every single week.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure that feels very joyous for you.
It does.
Sense of alignment. And I just out of curiosity, has it been that way, or did you seek out roles where you could have that value of connection?
The latter. Always been a relationship builder, but I definitely have been drawn towards and seeking and searching for places where I can grow that particular piece, because it does mean so much to me and lights me up so much.
And are you looking for ways to increase it in your work? Like, are you looking for ways to do it even more in your work? Are you feeling satisfied with that?
I'd always like to improve, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But yeah. Either.
Okay. All right. So, one of the things that we do with this exercise is to say, like, okay, if you had rated it a 9, for example, what would a 10 look like? And how can I start to implement that in my life? But you're living at it a 10, which is great. And it's intentional, which I love.
Yeah.
If you look at the list of values that you have, is there anywhere there's a disconnect where you're not quite living it at the level you'd like to be?
Probably balance for me.
Balance. And what is balance for you?
That's a great question, Cheryl. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. That's why I'm here. No.
That's why I'm here. I'm just kidding. No, for me, it means having the time to do all the things that I have deemed important to me and things that I prioritized and that bring me joy, along with things that must happen and are more responsibilities.
And what did you rate it in your life right now?
So I'm struggling. I'd probably say I'm about a 7. That's probably the one I should have brought up.
Okay, no, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So if it's a 7 in your life right now, what would have needed to be present for you to rate it a 9?
I think I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
People always say more time, but the truth is we all have the same amount of time. So I think what I've just started to implement is really being intentional about how I'm spending my time. So I think I will end up growing that, increasing that number. But at this point, I still kind of feel frantic and trying to adapt to my new schedule that I have planned for myself and actually doing the things.
So is it a situation where the things that you're not finding the time for are the things that you would be doing for yourself?
Absolutely, 100%.
Mm-hmm. And so you're really in the situation where the things that you need to do for work or your commitments or others are taking priority and
Yep.
it's starting to get out of balance.
Yes.
Do you have a value around work ethic, or is there a value for, okay. So this is why I asked that. There's also quite often what I call a values conflict. And that's a situation where you have two values that are competing against one another, and one is succeeding. And so a lot of times when I talk to a client who has an issue around balance or prioritizing or self-care, for example, they also have a value that conflicts with that, like a strong family value, or so they're putting their family before themselves, or a strong work value, work ethic. I went to work ethic because you're also doing volunteer activities. You're focusing on this connection, right? And everything that you need to do to feel connected. And it sounds like those two, it could even be connection and balance that are a little out of whack. And what's falling off is the self-care, is doing things for yourself. And self-care is anything we enjoy. I think we think of self-care like taking baths, which it can be, but it could also just be doing projects that you think are interesting or work that you find interesting. So as I'm describing that to you, how's that settling with you? Is this making sense?
Absolutely. It's really resonating with me because those are the things that I put on my calendar, my goals calendar, are more self-care activities. And I want to do those things and spend the time doing yoga, meditating, even drinking more water, taking walks, reading books. All of those things are on my list of things I want to do more of.
And then you push them aside when something from one of your commitments comes up. Yeah. So, which is really common. And of course you do that because you have a strong work ethic, because you're making connections with people. Of course, that's what's happening. Yeah. So, because I'm a firm believer in putting some action behind, even baby steps, what is one thing that you could start doing that you want to commit to doing in the next month? It doesn't have to be huge, a baby step towards getting some more balance in your life.
I think yoga 5 days a week would help me.
Yoga 5 days.
Yes.
What about yoga 3 days? That still feel good?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. This is why I'm asking that. I don't know. If I knew you better, I would know the answer to this, but I can tell you already are ambitious, have a lot going on, right? And so sometimes when we set a goal that's too big, then we don't meet it, and then we beat ourselves up about it.
Okay.
And so there's something in goal planning where you can say, my ideal is 5. I'd love 5. But if I do 3, I'm still going to feel pretty damn good about this.
Okay.
What could get in your way from this happening?
Things like sleeping in or, oversleeping. I mean, it's real. Projects that take more time than I have planned and I need to put extra effort or energy into. Changes with plans, changes of scope. When COVID first hit, all my clients kind of had to pivot and we had to do new strategies. So that took a lot of time, took time away from other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you encounter one of these roadblocks for you, so we chose yoga, and I'm putting you on the spot and I'm asking you to commit to it, but really it's up to you. I'm not going to follow up with you. I'm not going to stalk you and ask you if you did it. Maybe. But if these roadblocks come up for you, how do you want to handle it?
So I'm going to go kind of one by one. I wake up late and I have to just jump right into work and I don't have time for that morning routine. I want to make time for it later in the day.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If I have a client either needing changes or something late coming up for them or a pivot or anything along those lines, I want to take the time to schedule it. Unless it's urgent, obviously, hair on fire, those types of emergency situations do happen. But if it's not urgent, I want to be able to schedule it for when I have the time or make the time by shifting other things around.
Okay. So we have a plan, yoga 3 to 5 times a week.
Love it.
If you can't do it in the morning because you feel like you need sleep, which is understandable, you're going to do it later in the day. And when something comes up, it's your yoga time and something comes up, you're going to think, is this really something I need to take care of right now? Or can I schedule it for later? Yes. How's that feel?
That feels amazing.
Awesome.
I'm like, I can relax and it's not like the pressure feels relieved a little bit because it's not like, oh my God, I missed it this morning. My whole day is messed up. I'm terrible. I'm not taking care of myself. Deep end thoughts.
Wonderful. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, even though what Tony and I just spoke about isn't directly related to her job, it is in a sense, right? We're whole beings. We bring all, if you can carve out this time for yourself for balance, you'll be a better person at work, a better person here. It will impact your career and some satisfaction in life. Absolutely. So I'm looking at the time. I'd love to do this with someone else. So now you know the gist of kind of what I'm going to do.
Thank you.
Less scary. All right. Lucretia, am I saying it right?
You are saying it right. Yes.
All right. Awesome. All right. So I'd like you to pick a value. Perhaps one, again, where the disconnect is big or it's a big emotional pull for you. And tell me what it is.
Oh, okay. So I kept changing the number on it. So I'm going to go with creativity.
Okay.
It's a huge value for me.
Tell me about creativity.
It's part of the core of who I am. It's like breathing for me. I need to be creative. I need to be doing something creative.
And what did you give it? What rating did you give it?
I gave it a 7.5.
Okay. 7.5. That's very precise.
Yeah, the numbers I kept crossing them out. It sat at an 8 and I'm like, well, no, how much are you living it? So it's like about a 7.5 right now.
Tell me why you gave it a 7.5.
Because I feel like I want to do all the things.
Yeah.
And I want to do it well. But at the same time, there's this pull for me to be creative in areas that I don't necessarily want to because it doesn't bring me joy. So I feel like I'm sacrificing doing what I really want to do for what I have to do.
So can you speak more specifically? I know we're live and maybe there's things you don't want to talk about, but can you speak to that a little bit more specifically, like what that struggle is and what you're doing that you don't necessarily want to be doing and what you want to be doing?
Oh, yeah. And I have no shame because we don't grow in shame. So being creative with work stuff because you have to, versus being creative because it's something that's going to feed my soul. So painting or messing with all of my plants or coming up with creative content for that versus coming up with content for something that I don't necessarily feel the same passion for. With work sometimes. I kind of equate it to just because I can juggle doesn't mean I want to join the circus. I'm very good at what I do at the job. That doesn't mean I want to do it all the time or that the joy of it comes out of what you do well because it feels like more of a burden of creativity on demand versus creativity for the sake of doing it well. So it's like, well, just get it done. It could look like crap, but just get it done. So it's done, but you hate it. And so people like, and then that's when people want to share this thing you did. And it's like, no, that's why my name isn't on it. I don't want anybody to know I did that because I hate it. So sometimes I find, and this was something that, we had a lot when I was in art school, was that we were very blunt about critiques. So it's nothing for me to look at them like, nope, I hate it. I hate it. It's good. No, it's not. That's trash. So it feels like I'm creating more trash for the sake of saying it's done than stuff because I love it.
Yeah. And you know what? A couple things came up for me. One, it sounds like you're in a creative, I'm going to air quote creative job. And so people might think you should feel fulfilled creativity, creatively. You're in a creative job, but it isn't your passion. And hated is a real strong word, a real strong phrase. And I could feel that. I could feel that you hate it. And I find that people who are genuinely creative and have that drive, that passion, are often very critical of their own work. So there's probably an element of that there. But tell me, so you gave it a 7.5. What would make it a 9? I want to focus on what is specifically missing for you to be able to give it a higher rating in your life.
I have not devoted time. It's not on my calendar. That's the truth. It's not scheduled in like everything else is scheduled in. And it's because I try to fit it into those little spaces where it's like, okay, well, I've got time. Well, I've got time to be creative. And well, being creative has to be this production. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Sometimes it's just sitting down to do it. So what would make it a 9 for me is that it's devoted specific time to it.
Okay. Can I push you a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think it's about time. And I'll tell you why. And you can tell me I'm full of
Read
it.
me, Cheryl. I'm ready.
If it were, people can always find time. And I find that people often think, so there's outer blocks, there's inner blocks, right? And an outer block is time, education, skills. And those are things we can figure out. You can figure it out. I can tell how smart you are. You could figure out time if it were about time. There's something else. And a couple things came from me. You feel really passionate about this. I mean, you're using big words like passion, like hate. This is a strong emotional pull for you. And I'm sensing there's some perfectionism there.
God, I am exposed and naked right now. Yes.
I'm wondering if it's something like I won't be able to do it perfect, so I'm not going to do it. Or I think it's under the guise of time, but I don't think it's time. There's something else.
Yeah, I think that's pretty darn close, if not dead on it, that I'll start it and then I can't finish it because, well, now this needs to take my attention. So it's even in drawing some things out sometimes, or exploring different ways of being able to be creative. But it's like, does it have to be precise like this? So sometimes it's that precision of it needing to be perfect versus me just doing it for the sake of doing it, being creative for the sake of just doing it.
Do you find joy in it? Is it joyful for you?
Yeah, it is. When I just let go and I'm not under the pressure of, let's do it for the gram, or let's take if I'm just doing it because I just love it, it brings me immense joy. I can get lost in it.
Yeah,
There's
you're in the flow.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally in the flow with it. Yeah,
Mhm.
I can see that. What is one thing I want to come with some action, some forward movement on it for you. What would it be in the next month to take some steps in this way and do it just for the joy? Like, release, if you have to shut down that inner critic, if you have to, whatever you have to do to shut that down and just do it joy, what would it look like?
It would be part of my morning ritual. So part of what I do in the morning is I've gone back to meditating before my feet hit the floor. And I've kept my journal now by my bed to restart the practice of writing down some of those observations. So for me, the next thing was that it would become part of okay, now I'm going to go and break my fast. Is that with water or a cup of protein coffee? But while I'm doing it, I've got a notebook and I've got my multitude of pens, and I just draw for the sake of just drawing, whatever that looks like. There's no agenda. It's just doing it. So to make it part of what I do before I start the day is I've devoted that time. It just becomes part of what I do. It becomes a habit.
And I love this because where a lot of people will journal, you're taking the thing that you love, the drawing, and it is journaling. It's just this free flow. And I feel like it'll allow you to tap into this creativity in a little bit every day and kind of open it up for you with some acceptance around it. Like, I'm not trying to achieve something here. The act of what I'm trying to achieve is just the act of doing. Just the doing is the win.
That's exactly it, because it brings me joy to go back through old journals. If I'm looking for something, I'm like, oh, I know I have a mind map of that. Like something like this. I've been telling a friend I was going to pass it on to her. It says core values. It's a mind map of core values, which is why when you said pull out your core values, I said, oh, I have something like that. So instead of me having to read through words, I did this because I could see it. And a friend was like, oh, and this was from a talk that somebody did about core values. And a friend was like, oh, can you share that with me? Why? Because I took notes in a visual format. Which is what? Not being perfect, because I'm not drawing and it's not written out to where somebody could see it. But she said, oh, I was able to follow everything because she could see the hierarchy of things. Beautiful. That brings me immense joy to sketch note. It's drawing, but it's writing, because drawings are not meant to be perfect. So I'm able to not be perfect in that way and to just remove it and just do it and talk through it and say, oh no, it's great. It's great. Yeah. Oh no, that's great. Oh, you are so amazing. Look at those color choices. You're so great. So that tends to help me.
That's awesome.
Let the perfectionist sit down while I'm getting through it.
Okay, so let's wrap this up with, so we're talking about morning pages that are drawing.
Yes.
What could prevent you from doing it?
Checking email for the job and checking Slack. So what I could do is I could actually have those shut down at night. so that they're not dinging on my phone, because they will ding through on the phone. I don't even touch the computer, but the phone, I can turn the notifications off so that stuff doesn't ding through until I'm done at 9 o'clock or whatever the time is that I designate, so that I can do what I have to do. And I can also honestly rise probably about a half an hour earlier, like I used to. 5:44 used to be my time that I would wake up before everybody else in my house and wouldn't talk to anybody for easily probably about a good 45 minutes. And it was just that I didn't have to. So I now can devote this time, and that this is now part of my morning ritual. It's just part of what I do. If I don't do it, I'll feel off. So
I love that you use the term ritual, because I think what I'm also picking up from you is this idea of like honoring space, opening space for it, and honoring yourself by doing that. And when you talk about breaking fast and your meditation and everything, this is just an extension of that, or will be an extension of that for you.
yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
amazing.
Thank you for pushing me. I appreciate that.
Amy, I'm being mindful of the time. And I can either do this with someone else, but I think you all get the idea. You walk yourself through this and you explore it a little deeper, or I can take a Q&A. What would you like me to do?
We've got about 12 minutes left. So I don't know if all of you who are listening, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, if you have a question for Cheryl, pop one in for sure. But I wanted to just comment really quickly. I felt like what you were getting at with Lucretia there at the last moment was a little bit of habit stacking. I don't think I'm a creature of habit, but one thing I have learned is that when I do a better job of like sticking with my morning ritual, if I want to expand upon that, it is just adding one, and it's one small thing, one small thing. But I feel like that's like a really great tip. So I want to make sure everybody walked away with that, because that was a good one. I have not seen any questions come through. So, but I feel like everybody's really vibing with a lot of the things that you're talking about. And I love that Monica and Carolyn joined us today too. So why don't we go ahead and try to kind of get through one of them quickly before we wrap things up.
Okay, cool. And I was going to say to both of you, Monica and Carolyn, if I didn't get to you, I'll do it privately if you want to, because I appreciate you volunteering and I'm interested. But yeah, we have some time, and I'm willing to do it again with one of you. Who wants to go? All right, Carolyn.
All right. So it's really funny. So appreciated everything you said to Tony and Lucretia, because it helped me kind of define where my issue, I think, is. Because I thought the issue was work-life balance, but I realized that the issue is that one of my big values is competence. For me, it is really important to be successful, to feel like I'm doing a good job, to feel confident in myself and my skills, and that knowing that I'm somebody that can be trusted and counted on. And I tend to let that at work turn into something where I'm always saying, yes, I'm doing as much as I can. I'm staying late. I'm putting in extra hours on the weekend to get everything done, to be I'm a perfectionist, which does not help. And then I end up, I'm either like stuck at late at work, which means that I'm not eating as well. I'm not fitting in time for exercise. I'm not, taking care of myself. And currently, I've been one of those people impacted by COVID. So like right now, my work-life balance is great. My concerns about competence have definitely been on the ebb, just because of the fact that I'm out of the market at the moment. So I'm doing some things. I just started volunteering. I'm doing some other things like trainings and things to keep up. The Together Digital has been amazing for any non-members, like super, super recommend it. But I also want to make sure that I'm able to, when I, either start doing, some freelance work, or if I'm establishing my own business, or I end up with a full-time job, that I don't fall back into the same pattern. So I would say that normally I end up probably at about like a 6. Right now I'm probably, I'm actually feeling pretty good about things at the moment, like today. So I would say like right now I'm feeling like an 8, but, how do I kind of keep that going? And, how do I like take that as something that I don't let kind of, trash everything else?
Yes. So just to clarify, because the mic cut a little bit, did you say confidence or competence?
Competence.
Competence with a P, competence.
Yep.
Okay. And so what's happening, or was happening, is that you want to appear competent. And so you find yourself taking on extra projects, working really late, doing all of the things that you feel you need to do to look competent. Is this correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And I'm going to take this a little bit of a different direction. I'm really curious to know, has it always been that way? Or like, when in your life did you first start feeling like I have to overachieve in order to appear competent?
I wouldn't say that has been something I've always had to struggle with. I actually had issues in college because of the fact that my perfectionism stopped me from like getting things done. Like I would be paralyzed starting the paper type of a thing. Like I actually did therapy during college to like get myself to a point where like I could write the shitty first drafts because you can always edit it. And even now, sometimes I go back and I like reread my papers and I was like, wow, you were really good. Like these are really good things, you know, type of thing. So I mean, it's so funny, but like when I'm in there in the moment, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm. Is there an element of, well, first of all, let me back up. Was it this way in high school?
Yes. But high school, I had an easier time achieving.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like one of those people, like if I was, you know, in class and I took my notes and I read the work and I did the homework, I could basically just kind of like review my notes and take the test on the next day and I would get an A. Like it was very easy. So like when things started becoming, I had to do more of the work that like, and for me in my brain, it was like, you know, I tutored people in high school. Like, I never like judged anybody else on the fact that like they couldn't just like read the material and take the test and get an A. But the fact that like I had to become somebody where it was like a diligent part of my process, that was really hard on my self-confidence.
It sounds to me like as you started to achieve more things, whether it be starting in college or starting in your career, and you start to achieve more and more and more, this thing of I need to prove myself and I need to work harder and I need to seem competent started to increase for you. Is that true?
That's correct. Yes.
It sounds like imposter syndrome to me.
No, that is very true. That's really something I battle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And you know, two of the things that happen with imposter syndrome are perfectionism and procrastination. And so, for obvious reasons, and I'm hearing, yeah, Lucretia's saying yeah, and Tony's saying yeah, and that's what I'm hearing a little bit. And so, because we don't have a lot of time, but if you want to have a private call, I'll do that with you.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So one of the things that could, one small step, because again, I'm all about let's take some action, you know, let's do something. So this is what I would, if I could give you a homework assignment, this is what it would be. Tune into the voice in your head. So when you start to feel this way, there is some messaging happening up here, the inner critic or something like that, and you've got some messaging around, I have to do this perfectly or they're going to find out maybe I shouldn't be in the role, or I have to try harder than others because this doesn't come naturally. There's some really specific messaging happening up here, and you cannot, I believe, you cannot move past it if you don't tune into it. You really have to get clear specifically about what it is and look for a pattern in it. And so if you were my client, that's the first thing I would have you do, is just to get some awareness around it. What really am I telling myself? A lot of us are, you know, we call it the unmanaged mind or the monkey mind or whatever. A lot of us are clueless about these messages. So tune in, write it down, and get clear on it. That would be the first step. How does that feel?
That sounds good.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. And then maybe you could do that for a week and then let's connect.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right.
I will.
So we have about 5 minutes left. Do you want to talk a little bit, Monica?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my values is job stability, and I'm currently in transition. My job was affected by COVID back in March, April timeframe, and actually didn't think about it. It wasn't top of mind until my fiance had brought it up a couple of weeks ago. He shared with me that, maybe thinking about a different career path would be beneficial because you are finding a job or having to be on unemployment every couple of years. Like, you're never at a job that's, more than 2 or 3 years. And looking into our future, I don't want to continue to constantly have that fear of being unemployed or have to go through this every couple of years. It just kind of sets you back, and it sets us back, and keeping things kind of consistent and growing is what I would love to do. But I don't always want to have to be in that unemployment phase.
Yeah.
Because it's always an uneasy spot, and it's always a stressful spot, and it's, I don't know. Sometimes.
It makes sense that you feel that way, of course. Who wants to be? It's stressful. It's terrible. And it's a blow to our ego, even when we are in industries where it's common to have a lot of turnover and a lot of shift, even when we know logically that we're a victim of circumstance or whatever it might be, it still hurts us a little bit. It's hard not to take it personally, even when it is totally not personal. I'm wondering, job stability is a value. Has it always been a value, or has it become a value recently because of you're just I'm tired of this?
Probably it's been bubbling up. I've been unemployed since March or since April. And before that, my last bout of unemployment was in 2018. So I haven't been working a whole lot of time in between the last time I was unemployed and this time. So, there's always that constant change, and, really thinking about the last time that I was unemployed, I tried some different things and went in some different directions and kind of tried to find some areas where, maybe there will be some more stability that I would enjoy doing. So, but it's more apparent now than ever before.
So we only have a few minutes left, and I saw a comment from Constance about how brave you are to talk about this. And I do want to talk to you. I do want to have a private call with you if you're interested. I think I want to leave you with this. I feel like I'm picking up on this blow to the self-confidence a little bit, or maybe why does this keep happening to me? Is there some of that happening with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, how many of us have been in your shoes? I got to tell you, so many of us. And in the few minutes we have, the message I want you to take away is, this isn't your fault. This is no reflection of your value. I don't even know you, and I know that. And the people who do know you on this call are shaking their head yes. This is, gosh, I hate it when people say this, but it's so true. When these things happen to us, there's a lesson in it for you. There's something to learn. The universe, this is going to be a little woo-woo, is pushing you in this other direction. It's nudging you, and there are bigger things for you. I believe that in my heart. Don't let this rob you of your self-esteem.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, all four of you, for coming on and being so open and honest and vulnerable. I mean, that's really what we're here for. We don't get anywhere unless we get a little uncomfortable. And, I thank you, Cheryl. All of your advice was just absolutely wonderful. I hope everybody that's been watching went through the exercise, took some great notes. Reach out. Cheryl, we can share her website up here in just one quick second. But yeah, thank you so much for all of this today. Thank you, all four of you, our wonderful, fabulous members. It's really nice to know that we can get you some help and support. These are hard times for so many, no matter where you're at in your career or life. And I'm just really glad that we can all be here for each other. So with that, it is at the 1 o'clock hour. we'll close everything out. We will see you all next week when we meet. Again, same time, same place. We're going to be talking about angel investing. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. It's a mentor and friend of mine who has just got a ton of business knowledge and wealth of information. So if you want to learn more about that, tune in next week. Until then, Cheryl, thank you so much. Tony, Lakeisha, Monica, Carol, and it was so great to see all of you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.